Hi there. This is another chapter in the extraterrestrial book. I'm doing videos to support the text so that people can potentially see me in action, so to speak, because some of the extraterrestrial conversations are illustrating quite a different physicality than my own, and that's always interesting to see. So this may get posted on YouTube before the book. It may not. I don't know. Anyway, I'm going to bring Ananda through, and we'll see what they have to say before the next being comes through. Oh, we're with you again, dear ones. You are journeying with us up the ladder into other realms. It takes courage to accept as truth things that are repeatedly told to you are not possible. So this is the next phase of your development as a population on this earth, is stepping into new experiences that you have been told are not possible. So there has been a strong anti-extraterrestrial, anti-intergalactic program running on your planet, where everyone who's been interested in UFOs or has claimed to have had contact has been derided or picked apart or even have lost careers, these kinds of things. And any of you that are in this new field of curiosity, when you're in conventional situations, a dinner with your family or a coffee at work, and you bring this subject up, you will feel either great discomfort in the other beings if they're not on the same page as you, or you may even be derided or attacked. So most of you have had this experience if you're interested in UFOs, extraterrestrial beings, the evolution of consciousness, and you may have shut this part of yourself down and kept it secret. You don't really want to tell people that this is happening. Our dear one has gone through this herself. She was very, very open to teaching and receiving spiritual teachings and passing those along. That was very easy for her. But in this field, she is meeting her own unconscious blocks, and they manifest in a feeling of discomfort. So we want to let you know that should you feel discomfort as you experience this transmission or read this material, that is perfectly normal given the indoctrinations on your physical plane over the last decades. Do not think that feeling uncomfortable means you should turn it off, or that you should dismiss it or refuse this information in some way. We are asking you to sit with that discomfort and even make notes if you feel it coming up very, very strongly. For example, you may feel undifferentiated fear. You can write that down. I just feel afraid. I don't know why. You may feel threatened with your profession. If you're a dentist or a doctor or a teacher or a business owner, you may think, if people know I'm interested in this stuff, I will lose my reputation. It's a very powerful indoctrination in your society because you receive so much prestige from your work. So if there's any threat to your prestige or your position in your society, you will feel threatened and your ego will say, back off from this. We don't want to lose this precious thing that we've worked so many years to achieve. So just be aware that this is going to happen in your mind as you receive this information. It potentially will happen. In general, it will happen because you've all been conditioned in the same way through television, through churches, through family conditionings. Most of you are not that different from each other. But there are a select few of you, and this does not make you special. It just makes you a little different, not more special in a more valuable sense, just a little different, the black sheep of the family, if you will. You're still a sheep, you're a different color. You look a little different, you have a little different feel about you. There are many of you dispersed around the planet who have this curiosity, because you are going to be some of the beings who make those first steps towards contact or towards developing relationships with extraterrestrial beings, whether it be through a channeling such as this, which some of you are going to have that experience if you're open to it. Some of you are going to begin to see things. You might see something in the night sky. You might have a dream about an extraterrestrial contact. Those of you that have signed up to be on the leading edge of this communication, many of you have had serious contact events already, but there's a second wave of you now that are coming to material like this that are extremely curious about this information. You cannot turn it off if you start watching interviews or you are searching out this kind of information. That is your guidance system being influenced by your teachers and guides. And yes, some of your teachers and guides are extraterrestrial beings. This is not something that is often spoken about, because there has been this tremendous prejudice against that. If you have an Indian guru or a Native American guide, that's cool. But if you have an extraterrestrial guide, these fears and these indoctrinations of don't talk about that stuff are going to bring negative feelings up. Remember, you must remember what negative feelings are. That means that you're off track from truth. The way you've been taught to interpret negative feelings is get away from that thing, resist that thing, attack that thing, throw rocks or insults at that thing. Just get it away, change it, make it do something different. This is where your society is falling down at the moment, because you have been taught the wrong interpretation of negative emotion. Negative emotion is a sign that you're interpreting this situation incorrectly, and that is what this prelude is to this transmission. If you feel fear, if you feel discomfort, if you feel confusion, if you feel terror, if you feel anxiety, that means that you're perceiving this communication as a threat somehow to your safety, usually your bodily safety. The ego is very concerned about keeping your body alive. And so all of those invasion movies you've seen, all of those scary possession movies you've seen, they're going to come up now, and you're going to play those movies out in your head. What happened in those movies? Well, sometimes aliens pretended to be friendly, but they turned out to be reptilian monsters. Sometimes those spaceships were empty, but they were inhabited by some incredibly horrible creature. You have watched these movies, and these movies are part of the way your planetary governance system has kept you from connecting to extraterrestrial beings. So this is very important for you to understand, that these images, ideas, these movies are going to surface when you step into a situation that even remotely resembles that kind of scenario. So in these extraterrestrial conversations, your ego is going to come up with a story, which is, if we start making contact with these beings, we might have to go on a spaceship. They might have to come and meet me. What's the only experience your ego has of that? It's a movie. It's the only place it can go to get information. And that was used intentionally and unknowingly by your governing systems. So as we go into these conversations further, just keep that in mind and know that a feeling of negativity means I need to readjust how I'm looking at this. What is the belief that's being triggered? I feel threatened. What do I think is threatening me here? What do I think I'm going to lose? Oh, I think I'm going to be attacked or possessed. This negative feeling then means I'm out of accord. We want you to see these communications. Now, we have not introduced extraterrestrial conversations into our teachings early on so that you could begin to trust us, have faith in our message. You've seen that the only thing we've ever taught is love. The only beings who have ever come through this being have a high frequency message that is to relieve you of your suffering, to encourage you to use your creative abilities, your spiritual connection, be more loving. You know from years of listening and watching to us and reading us that we bring forth a consistent message of love. And this is why we've done it this way, so that you know that this platform that we have created is not different than the messages that these beings are going to bring forth. So that is our little preamble to get you prepared for these conversations. Some of these extraterrestrial beings will have presentations that are out of your comfort zone completely. You won't see this method of communication in your world, and so it will even bring up more distress, because you will say, this being is nothing like me, this being is using words or mannerisms that in my world mean negative things. But you must remember, your world is very, very limited by your conditioning programs. If anyone looks a little different, speaks a little different, has physical differences, they are rejected, attacked, judged, ostracized from your society. Do not follow that pattern in your connections with extraterrestrial beings, because you will shut down any communication, because they are not like you. And you must go in knowing they are not like you in all of these conditioned ways. They are like you in that they are intelligent, loving beings who are part of a galactic brotherhood, sisterhood, that is now opening to the possibility and the potential of allowing you in as a society. But before you can be allowed in, you must allow these conversations to take place. You must allow these interactions to reconfigure your willingness to open. That is the biggest issue that extraterrestrial beings and spiritual beings and highly evolved masters have with you as a society, is your firm no to any weirdness. So we will say, open your mind to a little weirdness here. Of course, those of you that know us have already opened your mind to a lot of weirdness. But if you're new to these teachings, if you haven't watched a lot of our videos or read a lot of our books, just be aware of how you're interpreting any negative feelings coming up in your body-mind complex. So we will now pass our dear one over to the next extraterrestrial who would like to communicate with you. All of us are here with the intention of expansion, and we are part of the Galactic Federation. We are what you would consider grey, tall greys, not the little guys that you see in your movies and that frighten you so, but we are elevated, elegant, obviously alien-looking beings as far as you are concerned, but you must recognize that you are alien to us. Our tallness, our elegance, our ability to converse in a calm and considered way is different than your way. So you will see us as more regal, perhaps. You will see us as a little arrogant, perhaps. But this is not so. You have, as a rule, been cultivated, much like plants are cultivated, in poor soils. When you see a plant that is grown in dry and dusty rocky terrain that is not full of nutrition and water and the right amount of ingredients, plants will be stunted. Some will die, some will thrive a little more than others because they've found a little pocket of moisture or they've found a little pocket of nutrition. But in general, that crop will not do so well. This is how we view your world. However, what's happening in your world are these little pockets of thriving are expanding, and these little pockets of thriving are bringing forth a crop that is viable. This is how we look at your society. We look at you like a field, a crop. Now, this sounds cold to you, but you must understand, as intergalactic beings, we are dealing with planetary systems. We are dealing with populations. We look at these systems and populations as a whole. Is this a peaceful system? Is this a thriving population? Now, many of you have a distorted view of your own population because of the news streams through which information comes. If you look at a general vibrancy report of your planet, it is tending now towards the more positive. It is not as destructive as it was. Many people, ordinary people who are walking the streets, people you might have a relationship with, are speaking about compassion, or they're negating war, saying, I don't want this anymore. I believe in my country, I believe in my ability to be free, but I don't want this price to be paid for it. And that is what we begin to see. So we're beginning to see this crop developing in a way that it has not yet done. So from our point of view, we come from places far, far away from you, even places you have no name for. So we won't bother with telling you what planet we're from just yet. It doesn't matter, you won't know it. It's not a name that you're familiar with. But we want you to know that as part of this Galactic Federation, we offer our skills, we offer our communication abilities as it relates to the improving of this crop, so that it can be harvested. Now, this is going to bring up frightening images in your mind of zombies or vampires, these other conditioned programs that you have in your head. But what is actually happening on your planet is that you are receiving a lot of help from extraterrestrial beings right now, because there is a shift imminent. And the word harvest is being used because when you think about it, what is a harvest? A harvest is when you go to the apple tree, because all the apples are ripe. They're beautifully at their peak of production, perfection. They are sweet and juicy. They have not begun to rot. They're not too tart and harsh because they're unripe. They are ready to just fall into your hand because now is the time. This is how we want you to begin to look at this word harvest, which you're going to hear from other sources. We don't want you to think of it as a combine harvester coming down and chopping everything as a whole without care. The harvest is like somebody going to that apple tree, gently pulling on the apple. Yes, that one's ready. Oh, that one's not quite ready. We'll leave that one there for a little bit. It's not quite right. Oh, that one just fell into my hand. I don't need to worry. This is the harvest. And this harvest is exactly like that end of season You don't lament the apples falling from the tree. You don't lament the juicy sweet tomatoes at the end of summer. You relish it, you love it, you know that that plant then has done its job for that season. And that is what the harvest is. And that is what we are all here to help you accomplish. That ripening in time, so that that fruit is not left on the tree in the dead of winter when it cannot go further along in that process. It must then fall to the ground, and that process must start again. We want as many ripe fruits in the basket going into the next evolutionary step that your planet is going through, because that is loving, that is kind, and that is the purpose of life, to evolve. So none of these invitations or expressions of care are about controlling you. They are purely to encourage you to ripen. And spiritual ripening means focusing on loving yourself, focusing on appreciating yourself, focusing on extending parts of yourself that are beautiful and need to express creativity, love, generosity, kindness, and witnessing where you feel you want to do something but you cannot. You want to do something, your heart says move forth into this project or this process, but something in you is frightening you or blocking you. You can tell from the feeling of this desire-fear combination that you are trained out of following your heart, trained out of listening to your guidance. And this is where we want to bring forth as much encouragement as we can in gently pushing through those blocks. This is how evolution takes place in all spheres, in all worlds, in all realms. There is a comfort zone, control zone, and then there is everything else. Your comfort zone is where, particularly on your planet, you've been trained to function, where you will encounter fear, distress if you step out of that, whether it's in body changes, ability changes, financial changes. There are many parameters that stop you going past those edges. But the end of summer is coming, and we want you to feel those edges and ask, is this unloving, this thing that keeps stopping me? Is this fear, this thing that keeps stopping me? Is this a voice from someone else in my mind? Because my heart says go here, but there's something else impinging upon me that I don't quite get. We are here to encourage you to go into that little block and ask, from whom did this come? From where did this arise? This is something that I learned in school. This is something that I learned from my very fearful parent. This is something that I've learned from television. This is something that I've learned from my peer group. When this feeling arises in you, we want you to make a decision. Is this beneficial to me on a grander scale? At the end of my life, will I benefit from empowering this limiting idea, or will I regret allowing this limiting idea to control my life? This is how we want you to look at it, because the harvest, the plucking of the fruit from the tree when it is ready, can be inhibited by beliefs such as this. Because if they are unloving and you are empowering them, that means that you're not yet ripe. It means that you have not yet come to understand the mind, the heart, creation, creativity, love. And that is what must be understood to be put in the harvest basket and brought into the next iteration of your planet. Because the next iteration of your planet is a loving frequency, it is a higher vibration. And if you have not mastered how to become ripe through the self-understanding of the mind and the heart and spirit, how you create, you cannot join that planet on that next phase of her journey. This is not a punishment. This is not a retribution. This is merely a frequency reflection. And as beings of free will, riding on the back of this being of free will, which your planet is, she is a being of free will, an entity unto herself, she says, come with me, but you must employ those frequencies that I employ, which are generosity, productivity, self-expression, transformation, evolution. Join me if you have those. But if you don't have those, then you must take another path. You must try again. Because I am moving forward. And you must move forward if you wish to join me. So the Galactic Federation is bringing to you communications such as this, so that you may have the opportunity to leap in that basket with all the other ripe apples who are happy to be ripe, not fearful. My name is Aslata. Aslata. And my purpose is to introduce ourselves, our race, our configuration to you, so that you may know we exist, so that you may understand our purpose, and so that you may choose with your free will to focus more on that which brings you joy, that which is loving and kind, that which is self-expressive, because you know that there is an end of season coming, and the time for procrastination is over. I share this message with great love. It is my purpose to facilitate communications such as this with respect, love, and a deep understanding of the cycles of your planet, your system, your galaxy. Enough said. We will attempt communications again at a further time. In the love and the light of the One Creator, we thank you. Okay, that's it.